Hello, I'm Paul, the Running Shoe Guru. This is Marathon Handbook, and today we're looking at how to achieve a 3-hour marathon. I'm 55 years old. This year in Berlin, I ran 2:40.55, and last year I ran a 2:39.30. I ran my first marathon in New York in the year 2000, and that was in 2:39.59. Now, way back then, 23 years ago, I didn't consider myself a marathon runner as such. I was running a lot of 5, 10Ks and half marathons, and I didn't really train specifically for the marathon distance. In fact, my long run was probably only around 14 to 15 miles each week. So I did kind of scrape through that one on the back of my speed. In recent years, I've tried to become more of a marathon runner as I've gone into my 50s, and these are some of the methodologies, the training schedules, if you like, and runs that I've incorporated and that I think will be useful for people trying to dip under 3 hours for the first time. So we're going to look at a couple of key elements, the first one being the long run, which I think is probably the most important run of the week for marathoners. We'll also look at the speed session, the interval session, the tempo session, whatever you want to call it, midweek. We'll talk about easy runs a little bit, and then another little secret sprinkle that I'm going to talk to you about that I think does make a big difference in your weekly training cycle and helps all the other aspects of your training as you progress throughout the week. First of all, a little bit about pace. The pace for a 3-hour marathon, or to just dip under 3 hours, would be 6 minutes 52 per mile. For a 250, you're looking at 6 minutes 30 per mile, and if you run 6 minutes per mile, that's one that I try to train to, which would give you 2 hours 37 and 12 seconds. Like I said, that's usually the target I aim for. I haven't got near that for quite a while. 2002 in Chicago, I ran a 2:35, and that's my best effort. But I'd still like to think I can get relatively close to that, or the 2:37, and I do try to aim for a steady 6-minute mile pace. But for the purpose of the sessions and the timings that I'm going to talk about on these runs, we're going to be basing it on a 2:37 at 6s, 6:30s for 250, and 6:52, just sneak under 3 hours. First of all, the Sunday long run. Now, depending where you're at in your marathon career, if you like, if you've done one marathon already, you've got a good gauge of where you're up to, and you've already been doing long runs and mixing it up a little bit. If it's your first marathon, then if you're aiming for Sub-3, I'm guessing you should be pretty confident with your long runs. You should have done some half marathons that will be indicative of being able to run a sub-3-hour time as well. So I am making some assumptions as well. Sub-3 isn't a target, shall we say, for new runners. It's for people that have been running quite a while. I would say at least 6 to 12 months, if not longer. So I'd always suggest at least a 12 or maybe 16-week build-up towards your first marathon. I think 16 weeks is ideal. Because of the way I like to structure the plan, it gives you the opportunity to fit in at least maybe like 6 good runs of 18 mile plus, and I think those are key to hitting your goal. I'll assume that at the beginning of your plan, 12 or 16 weeks, you're running around 14 to 15 miles regularly on a Sunday. So the idea is to build that up to 21 miles. I'd like to build up to a long run distance of 21 miles on the Sunday. But I do my Sunday runs a little bit different, and I split them into 2 types of long run, each alternating Sundays. I alternate between a long steady run, so I do that at 1 minute per mile slower than my target pace. If I'm aiming at 6-minute miles, the 2:37, 2:38, I try and run that 15 to 21 mile long run at around 7 minutes per mile. Now that should feel relatively comfortable. Yes, it is a bit of an effort because, yes, it's 15 miles plus, but it's a minute slower than your target race. So over the course of the 16-week build-up, you can add maybe 1 mile every 2 weeks, and so you're on 2 weeks at 15, 2 at 16, 2 at 17, 2 at 18, and build it up like that. So I'm doing 2 weeks at like 15, for example. Week 1 of that schedule will be at the 7-minute mile pace, so that'll be 7 minutes or 7:30 or 7:52s, depending on where you're at, where the target is. So if you're just aiming to sneak 3 hours, that long steady run at 7:52 per mile, so a minute a mile slower than your target. Alternating each Sunday with the same distance, but including an element of that long run at target pace. So if we're doing 15 miles, for example, I would typically build it up and say we'll do 3 miles warm up, 10 miles at target pace, and then 2 miles cool down. It's a big effort, but we're going to build that up to around about, like in the last schedule that I did pre-Berlin, I built up to 17 miles at my target pace. Now it is a big, hard effort, you know, so it's not quite as quick as you would run for half marathon, but it's 17 miles at marathon race pace. It's a key element, and it does give you a lot of confidence. Now, you're only going to, at that very longest distance, and I think around an hour and a half-ish of that long run at that pace is where you want to be, about 90 to 100 minutes in total. So that might be 16, 17. I think that is a good place to be. It does give you confidence, it does give you strength, and it builds your strength endurance as well. And come race day, you can just float through. I mean, you're going to float through halfway, you're going to float through 20 miles. For everybody in the marathon, it's that 20 miles plus that when it becomes hard and you start to feel it. I don't think you can do hard 20-mile efforts very often in training. You might do occasionally you'll find 20-mile races, and you could do one of those. If you were going to do that, I would probably do it about 5 or 6 weeks out from the marathon, give you a couple of weeks to recover, but it's still a big effort. So that's why I think around the 90 to 100 minutes, 15, 16, 17 miles at marathon pace is a good one. But you're only alternating that every other Sunday with the long steady run. So that's a long run. The next element of your training, and another key element, is the speed work. I would typically do this midweek on a Wednesday, so I have had Monday and Tuesday to run easy and get the long run out of my legs. And if it's a hard long run coming up the following Sunday, a few days recovery from the speed session. So midweek is ideal. The speed session, I think, is best to build up to approximately 10 miles of quantity at marathon or faster than marathon effort. Now, depending what type of runner you are, where you've come from, if you're a 5k runner, a middle distance runner building up, you'll probably be able to incorporate 400s, 800s at a very quick speed. If you are a more endurance-based athlete, then I think the quickest you have to go is maybe 30 seconds quicker than marathon target pace. So if you're aiming for that 2:37, 2:38, 6 minutes per mile, then intervals were going to be at around 5:30 per mile. So we're looking around 30 seconds per mile quicker than marathon target pace or your half marathon speed. And I would build up to 10 miles in total distance. You can make these up however you like. There is no magic formula for them, but over the course of the 12 to 16 weeks, you can break them up. Each 4 weeks, I like to build them up. So I might start at 2-minute efforts, 3-minute efforts, 5 minutes, and even like 2-mile efforts. So mix them up however you like. At the start of the block, you might be doing 4 or 5 miles of total effort. So you might be doing 8 times half a mile. As you build up throughout the course of the block, you will be doing 10 times half a mile, 5 miles total. You might do the following week 6 times a mile, so 6 miles total. And then you're going to build up to the peak volume, which will probably be around 3 and 4 weeks away from race day, where you will be doing a total of 10 miles of volume. So that might be 20 times half mile reps. It might be 10 times 1 mile, 5 times 2 mile, whatever you like. But it's going to be a half marathon effort. So it's going to be a tougher workout, but you are going to get a recovery. Now, there's lots of variations to the recovery. Personally, I like to keep recoveries of between 1 and 2 minutes. If I'm doing a shorter interval, maybe up to half a mile, I will do a 1-minute recovery. If I'm doing 2-mile reps, then I might have 2 minutes jog. And I do like to jog them as well. There's no set real formula, but you've got to feel comfortable. You've got to be able to complete the session. And I think always being able to complete the session is the key element. It's no use getting to 8 out of 10 times reps and feeling absolutely exhausted and walking away you can't do it. Maintain the recovery, keep it at something that keeps the whole session manageable and achievable as well. It's achievable goals that are the key to successfully completing the block. So midweek session, building up to 10 miles throughout the marathon training block at half marathon intensity. Easy running does play a key element into the weekly schedule. The purpose of the easy runs, which may be 2 minutes a mile, slower than your target marathon pace, maybe 2 minutes 30. And there's nothing wrong with just very easy jogging. It is to get the body flushing out everything, get the circulation going, loosening off the legs all the time. And I personally like to keep these at around 45 minutes to 1 hour. It can be whatever distance, but it's easy running. So Monday and Tuesday after that Sunday long run, I'm just running relaxed for 1 hour. Depending on where you're at, it's what you feel comfortable with. But when you start to put the whole block together and you've done a couple of weeks of long runs, if you've done a couple of weeks of hard sessions, you'll find an easy pace and your body will let you know what feels easy. It should be no great strain, just going through the motions, and I think up to 1 hour of easy running is perfect. You need to be running 5 or 6 days per week. I think 5 days you can get away with it, to be perfectly honest. 6 days, it is only going to be another easy run that you're going to incorporate into there. I always like to have a day off. It works with my work schedule. Saturdays, depending on how busy I've been at work, will probably be a rest day. I just don't have much time on a Saturday. And that's another element. The weekly training schedule has to include your own lifestyle, your work, and other commitments that you have. So it shouldn't be at the sacrifice of anything else. Fit it into your daily schedule. You've got Monday, Tuesday, the easy runs, Wednesday, the session. Thursday is going to be another easy run. You've got to get the body moving again, loosened up after Wednesday's hard session. Now, Friday is an easy run day. This is a little bit of magic sprinkle that's going to add a nice element to the training. We're going to incorporate strides. I typically like to do 2 to 3 miles of very easy jogging, really easy. And for the strides, I typically do between 6 and 8 strides at around 100 meters. It doesn't need to be measured exactly. You want to be running for 20 to 30 seconds. Strides are not a flat-out sprint. We're not doing a crouch start or anything like that. You're incorporating them into your run. So you're running along nice and easy, you pick the pace up, and then you start striding out. And the thing to do is really imagine your favourite world-class athlete, visualise a clip of them in the home straight, and then try and replicate their stride, driving the arms, picking the knees up, lifting your feet up behind you, and really stretching out a little bit. It shouldn't be too much effort, it should feel relaxed. It is a fast pace, but you're only doing 20 to 30 seconds. It's not going to be long enough to really get your heart racing and pumping. So when you finish the strides, you ease back down into a jog again, and the heart comes down a little bit, and you go again. You're going to repeat that 6 to 8 times, concentrating on a nice, relaxed stride. After a few weeks, you should notice all of your running becomes a little bit more fluid, and that when you're doing the interval sessions, for example, they become a more relaxed effort as well. Your stride simply develops, it becomes a little bit longer, and if you can get just 1 centimetre on your stride length when you're running at pace, that is going to be a massive saving over 42,000 strides in a marathon. So it's a very tiny gain that you can get, and it should hopefully show through all your running. Strides, I incorporate them on a Friday as a specific run, and they're a nice kind of fun way to end the week. Saturday, like I said, personally for me, will often be a rest day. If you are going to run, if you want to run, I would just say 30 minutes, very, very easy. There's no real benefit, it's adding the overall volume. In marathon training and in 3-hour marathon running, I think it's the Sunday run and the speed work that really are the core elements, and that's what you're improving. You're improving your efficiency at running long and your efficiency at running quickly. So a lot of it is easy running. A lot of marathon running comes down to boring consistency. Week after week for 12 to 16 weeks of doing very similar, very repetitive type runs, and it's becoming comfortable at executing, carrying out those runs, getting through the sessions. And I think with the consistency and the kind of almost boring element of it, that's the key to keep being able to do them repetitively. It's not doing a week getting tired, getting sore, and having a few days off. It's just gradually building and keep consistently doing it week after week, gradually building for those 16 weeks. I hope this has been useful. Please do like and share the video and subscribe if you haven't done so. And if you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments below and I will endeavour to answer every single question I can. And if there's a lot of similar questions that arise, I'll maybe come back to this type of video in a few weeks, in a month or so, because we've got spring marathons, of course, and a lot of people like to start at the beginning of the new year. So maybe we'll address it and address some of the questions that you have. I hope this has been useful. Good luck with your training, and we'll see you in the Sub 3 Hour Marathon Club very soon. Thank you.